Welcome to Q&A with Shay. Today, I'm honored to have from the Grammys, Len Brown. We're going to get into all the good stuff going on with the Grammys, the good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to talk about it. We're going to go deep. Please subscribe to Q&A with Shay on the Himalaya app or wherever you get your podcast from. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to another episode of Q&A with Che. I'm your host, Che. Today on the program, I'm excited to have Len Brown, hailing from Brooklyn, weighing in at now. Len Brown from the Grammys. We're going to get into all of that. I need to know, first of all, what is your title and what do you do at the Grammys?
So I manage rap, R&B, and reggae awards within our awards department. So basically everything that has to do with those awards, from reaching out to the folks within those communities, letting them know how the process works, letting them know how it goes from submission to basically Grammy Sunday and everything in between.
All right. I got him here. So he's on the program. He can't go. The door's locked.
We're
going to get into some real conversation. Q&A with Che is a program, as you know, we were talking off. This is an informative, my version of the questions you can't Google. You know what I mean? Like the questions you can't get the answers to. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it.
And that's kind of like what the whole purpose of this program has, been developed for.
Yeah.
So I love getting people on like yourself who really don't necessarily are kind of behind the scenes, and a lot of people don't understand the inner workings of it. And the Grammys is one of those mysterious places where you guys often get a bad rap, you know what I mean? And
yeah, a little bit. You know?
By the way, plug for myself there, 2-time Grammy Award winner. I'm just saying. Yeah. Anyway, back to it. First of all, let's get into your background. Like before you, like how does one get to the Grammys? Let's start. How did you get into this business?
Well, for me, I started off just entertainment, writing at Entertainment Tonight. So writing it for them musically, online.
So journalist.
Journalism, yeah.
Okay.
That was my first foray into everything. And then from there, I bounced around, did a little bit of freelancing everywhere, from different publications to freelancing even on TV and film, not really knowing where I was even going to be at, to be honest. And a recruiter hit me up for a position at the Grammys.
Okay.
Which wasn't necessarily within where I'm at right now, but it was a foot in the door, which is all I really wanted at the point. So I took that, and then once this position opened up, I went for it, full steam ahead, and God willing, I got it, and here we are now.
Okay, let's backtrack to the journalism real quick. I have a cousin, Torre, who you may have heard.
Oh yeah, Torre is dope, man.
Yeah, he's a character. He's
controversial.
It's a family. You know what I mean? It's controversial at times. But I like the fact that he has an opinion.
Yeah,
and I think so. When you got into journalism, was it hard to sort of be impartial when you wrote about different things, or you were able to include your opinion in it? I've always been curious about that with journalists.
I feel like with Entertainment Tonight, yeah, it was definitely had to be a little bit more impartial. Any type of opinions would usually be frowned upon.
Okay.
So for lack of a better term, just because for them it's just all about appeasing the celebrities.
Gotcha.
They're not trying to show them that we have an opinion.
Okay.
So that was a little restricting. I think with other places like, Rolling Stone or Billboard or whatever, you're able to at least kind of flex a little bit more of that. And some of them are underground joints, you can actually say whatever you want almost.
Okay.
So it was definitely liberating to kind of see all stages of it and just being able to kind of interject where I felt like I needed to, but at the same time, being smart when I was in certain spots. But then, the ET thing didn't last that long because at the end of the day, that's one sector of the entertainment business that I wasn't really feeling like that, just because it's gossip and all this other stuff that I'm not really a chitty chat person like that. It's just like, nah, man, I'm straight.
Okay, so you leave the Entertainment Tonight and you jump out of the pot and into the fire. Sure. And the reason I say that, the Grammy has been under fire, in the recent years with all the different. What was it, Macklemore? I mean, I could go on and on and on.
I still remember that.
Yeah, I could go on and on. I just. First of all, did you have a background and interest in music? Like were you interested, one of those people growing up?
Well, I grew up, I played piano as a kid. Didn't really follow through with it. Once I got to high school, I just kind of let that shit go. And, from there, produce a little bit, mess around in college, do a little bit of writing stuff in college, just the the passion was always there. I mean, the discovery for new music was always there.
Okay.
The journalism was always there. Putting that all together is kind of where, what led me to this.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like the when I hear stories like that. It's like, how did someone get there? You know what I mean? And journalism. Okay, that I had no idea. So that's fascinating. Okay, now you're at the Grammys. Let's before we get to your current position, you arrived there. You heard about the Grammys. You know what's going on. Now you're there.
Mm-hmm.
What does it feel like? You're in the room. You're learning about it. What's your first your real lessons at the Grammy, I guess, learning about the culture of the Grammys and the organization?
I feel learning about the organization really, depending on where you're coming in from, you're not going to really know too much about the inner workings of it. And for me, when I was working, because I was doing digital media for them for a little bit, helping build up and maintain their websites, you only get a certain purview.
Gotcha.
So you're never going to really see how it really is. Versus me now, seeing the different committees and seeing the governance behind it and what really takes place when, decisions really go through and happen. It's night and day.
Okay. Let's go through the process. How, especially, I want to speak, specifically. I come from, an urban community background, obviously hip hop and R&B and soul music and so forth. So I want to really focus on that community because that's the community that oftentimes gets upset.
Yeah, we have the biggest gripes.
Yeah,
I get it.
You saw Tyler Creator's speech,
front row and center.
Yep,
yeah,
exactly. So with that said, let's start with the process of how are awards given.
So basically it comes down to this. Every year we have submission periods, first round and final round, usually summertime, like June, July, August.
Yeah, and who's submitting?
Submits can come from members that actually sign up and do that because that's one of the perks of being a member, or, media company, like a label, like whatever other company, so like Epic and
they lobby for
Columbia, etc. They send in whatever they think is going to be worthy of hopefully getting to that point of getting nominated.
Okay.
All that gets submitted. Me and my counterparts in all the different genres, from rock to country to jazz and classical, we go through all those, make sure it all fits within our guidelines in terms of when it was released, when it was recorded, liner notes submitted properly, everything's accounted for, check the T's, dot the I's, all that.
Yeah.
Then we go to the next phase where it's basically we have a screening committee that, made up of industry professionals and creators within our genres.
Okay.
So for me, I get a lot of people that's making the music as well as the people that's on the executive side to listen to it and make sure, it belongs where it's supposed to be.
All
so
right.
if we got like a song that doesn't feel like it's rap or R&B, then it goes somewhere else. But obviously if it stays, it stays.
All right.
Once all that's done, that gets on the ballot. Members, and the only people that can vote are members that are musicians. Those are voting members.
Okay.
So you need to be a creator of some sort to be able to get that designation. They're the ones that get to vote for that first ballot when that three-week period hits, which is around like September time.
Now, do you feel like the urban members of this community, do you feel like they're not active enough?
From my experience, I feel like it's a mixed bag. Some people are, some people aren't. Some people don't know the dates. It's always you get a different, you get all sorts of responses when it comes to that. But I feel like, it could always help to have more participation.
So how do we get that information out there? How do we expose it more? I mean,
we
talk about it on programs like this,
right? And they send email blasts out and everything. And something I think we should try and do is definitely spread it out further with social media, with other means that's maybe not as conventional as what they're used to. Yeah. So that way more people can get eyes on it so they're not as in the dark when that time comes around.
And I don't want to call out my people, but, our people, we sometimes we need to be on the platform that we're using. You know what I mean? So if everyone's on Instagram, we need to see it.
Maybe we should put on Instagram, right?
See it on Instagram,
if it needs to be on Shade Room, it needs to be on Shade Room. Yeah. I mean, there's many ways to look at it, but the way I look at it is just, let's use social media since that's one of the main drivers right now for anybody to communicate. That's probably the best way to even get this message out.
Okay.
And which I know we usually do a good job of that for the most part, but then it becomes, it's on the onus of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what their schedule's like, if they're torn, if they got sessions up the ass, or whatever the case is. You just never know what that impediment is where they can't even do it. But that's what it comes down to, is getting those, because once that happens, those votes come in, everything gets tabulated, looked at, and then later on, once everything gets sorted out, the nominees come out later.
Yeah.
which is what, around November time, and the nominees get announced.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's all usually contingent on the voting.
Okay.
So it's like,
yeah, so it's exactly.
You can have moments where somebody you think deserves a lot of votes doesn't get them. And you're like, oh, well, what happened with that?
Yeah.
You know, it's.
So I wanted to, and I, obviously I'm not trying to get you in trouble or anything like that,
Nah, man,
but
straight.
I wanted to, like, what do you feel about the sort of the concept of, like, I want, and I feel, I guess I'm familiar with it because when the first Grammy I won was being a part of Lauryn Hill's album for the album of the year,
album.
which was an album of the year candidate, right? And the only other hip hop one that I know about is Outkast.
Yeah. See,
Now,
and those are the tricky ones because those top 4 categories, album of the year, record of the year, song of the year, you got thousands to choose from in those categories.
Yeah, and I think it's, Tyler had a good point to me, and what I mean by that is, hip hop is popular culture. So pop music is popular culture. What's popular? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when big hip hop records that have dominated the airwaves and dominated the sales and the charts and so on and so forth don't get recognized, it's like,
you wondering what's going on.
Yeah, you're like, what's going on? It's like, okay, and don't even get the nomination. Now, it's one thing to win, but don't even get the nominations. You know what I mean?
And I feel like that comes back to the participation part of it, because if you're not participating enough to at least put that album in a certain respect that it deserves, then unfortunately it's not going to make to that nomination phase because of the fact that, well, if not enough people even put forth the votes to even get it up there, then how can it get nominated? And I think that's something that people forget. Like it's on them. Like you need to be as vocal and participatory as you can be if you want to see that change, because that's the reason. I mean, this is an organization by musicians for musicians.
Okay, so that's
we're just employees. I help facilitate everything.
Yeah, that's my new T-shirt. I'm walking around with, you got to get out and vote and be a voting Grammy member. Every session I'm going to, I'm bringing T-shirts and stickers.
You're like Puffy, right?
Yeah, that's my
vote or die.
Yeah, that's my new campaign. We gotta infiltrate. Do you feel like, obviously there's been a recent controversy, we don't even have to talk about all that, but do you feel like the future of the Grammys are you feeling positive about where it's going and what's happening internal? You don't have to share some of the,
Internally, I feel like we'll still be in a good place, because at the end of the day, in my job, I'm talking to people every day, every artist, every manager, every publicist, whoever's on these teams. I'm trying to let them know that your participation is going to really change this whole perspective on what's going on. I mean, there's some good changes I think that's coming down the pipeline too that I can't speak on just yet, but I feel like that's going to even help bolster that fact. But I think at the end of the day, once I start getting more people, because I'm getting some younger artists that really understand that it does take you and you spreading that word out to make a difference, because that could be the difference between Tyler getting a rap nomination versus getting Album of the Year nomination. Okay. It's night and day, but then when you get enough people in there making noise and actually doing what they should be doing at the times that they should, and that's when you get those good results.
Okay.
I mean, I was happy when I saw Gambino win Record and Song of the Year last year. That was crazy.
Yeah,
nobody saw that coming at all.
Well,
I feel like that was just the tip of the iceberg.
Give me a glimpse into like what your work week looks like for some. Like if I always love having just interesting individuals. I know Mario from CSAC, who I've had on here, and I love to have the premise of the show is to have exposed young people to positions and career paths that they may not have even known about, and the different paths that people have their journeys to even arrive where they're at. With that said, like what's your work week look like? Give me a glimpse into the life.
Well, these days, a lot of it's just, meetings, planning up for different things that we got going on, because we got like an awards and nomination meetings coming up like about a month. We got different things like Grammys on the Hill coming up, where we help try and get artists to really advocate for, creators' rights in DC. And so that way people can get paid fairly. People can get things that's going to work in their benefit versus their detriment.
Yeah.
And just be able to spread the word, because as many people as I've met already up to this point, there's a million more I haven't. And just being able to let everybody know, different labels, management companies, just how we work, how we operate, how you get your artists involved. Not
So
just
you do a lot of moving around and meeting with directly with the managers. And
always, yeah. So, I mean, that's just the typical day in life, and just making sure, we keep in-house clean, and then just be out in the streets just trying to get everybody in the know and make sure that
is there any kind of like educational programming? I mean, I know you got the Grammy Museum, but it seems to me like more artists need to just be involved with it and outside of the award. You know what I mean? Like just like throughout the year.
And we do have programming like that throughout the year, but I know because we have 12 different chapters around the country, LA chapter being the biggest. So, and that's on the membership side, so they help with that program and curating it, finding out what it is that we need to speak to, whether it is education, whether it is, maybe mental health, wellness, or whatever have you within the music business. We look to try and tackle, and year over year, it's always something different that we would look to expose and be able to kind of highlight.
Okay. Now, specifically speaking, in your genres of areas, do you guys work with kids?
Yeah. We obviously have interns all the time. I'm looking into probably doing more mentorship, just to be able to let the kids know, like you said earlier, there are different paths to get in this. You don't need to pick up a microphone. You don't need to pick up a basketball. Yeah. There's different ways to be able to make an impact within this business or any business without having to go through the cliched routes that you think that, is necessary. Yeah. But we have Grammy U, that a lot of times we try and reach out to these kids and help them understand, like, let them see what the business is like from a firsthand perspective, and Grammy in the schools with a similar focus. So a lot of programming gets generated for those kids so they can not only, get up and close and personal with a lot of the artists that they probably revere, but be able to kind of get a better idea of what it is to expect, if they go down that career path as a musician.
Okay. That's good. What do you think about the state of the music, especially urban music, hip hop these days? Are you optimistic? Are you got a bunch of artists you feeling?
I'm optimistic.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I love Amber Mark. Okay. Rest in peace. I love Pop Smoke. I thought he was dope. I love Smino. There's a lot of dope talent out there that's just bubbling up to the top now. And I feel like since we are dominating the charts, people are giving more chances to these artists that, maybe 20 years ago they weren't, because they were a little bit too timid to take that risk.
Yeah. Are Grammys working with emerging artists?
Well, we always. I encourage all emerging artists. That's usually my bread and butter in terms of reaching out and trying to get them going in terms of what we're doing and how that can fold in with their career path, because I feel like once they have that knowledge, they don't necessarily need to mold their lives to it, but they have it in their back pocket now. Yeah. And they have me as a resource.
Well, hopefully they step their game up, you know what I mean? Make better music. No,
yeah. That's always subjective, but
yeah. No, just in terms of like a Grammy still being a goal. You know what I mean? I hear a lot of artists talk about, the accolades are not important and this and that. And maybe they're not. Maybe because they, at the end of the day, it is a trophy and it is that. But I think the acknowledgement of the work is important.
Yeah, and it's the reason why it's exalted is where it is, because it's nothing like having your peers say you made this or you're the best at this, versus having fans or the media tell you that, or the label execs who are always going to be a little bit biased. They're not going to really necessarily have a different view on it.
Yeah, that's why I think we got to get it right. And as a community, the community of music has to rally around it to get it right.
Exactly.
So the artists don't feel like that, right? So when those artists do make amazing bodies of work, they don't feel like it's not appreciated or respected, and so on and so forth,
No, I agree. And I think that's why we want to make it something where never want to fight from the outside, come fighting from the inside.
Yeah. I feel like that's what Jay-Z did with the NFL. A lot of people.
It's smart. It's the smartest thing. People look down on it, but at the end of the day, he wasn't going to make any moves if he was sitting there hollering from the outside.
Yeah.
Nah, you got to step yourself.
Because you hit a wall, where you can't.
You got to put yourself in that position to be able to really make change. You can't do that from the outside of anything.
Yeah. Now we got you on the inside. Rest in peace to Pop Smoke. And I say that because to me, he was holding the mantle of New York hip hop. And I feel, I'm originally from the East Coast. I'm from Boston. The violence in hip hop, it's always there. It's never, obviously you go back to Biggie, Tupac, and countless others, Soulja Slim, Mac Dre. You could go on and on and on.
Bankroll. You just
Bankroll. Yeah, we could keep going on. I feel And I wanted to ask you this question. I feel like we have, as a community, have to keep our people safe. You know what I mean? It's almost like, and I don't want to talk about them as a product, but like you have to protect that investment. So meaning if you're a record label, if you're a manager, you have to protect these kids, these young people, right? They don't necessarily know how to move, how they should be moving, and safety. And that is a real concern. Obviously we keep losing,
100%.
And I'm speaking right now about New York hip hop specifically because we know we have Smur to go to jail. We had the young rainbow hair dude. I don't even like.
I didn't even say his name.
Say his name. I don't even gotta say his name.
Nah.
And now and now the young man Pop Smoke. It's a tragic story to me. You know what I mean? That it's a repetitive story in terms of prison, death, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Drugs, overdose. What do you think, and I'm bringing this to you in terms of your position and your responsibility as a Grammy representative. How do we help rally this community to support these artists better?
I mean, I
That's
personally
putting a lot
feel
on
like,
you, but yeah.
I'm with it. I feel personally we need more OGs to give these young dudes game. I feel like nowadays there's not that much artist development. There's just
there is none. Not at a major label level.
Nah, not at all. It's just like put the music out. Let's get this money. Let's get this money. Let's get this money. But what about them? What about their issues? What about whatever they're going through prior to getting that money? There's something that we need to address and be able to like, look, young man, you need to step away from these cats. You need to go change your life a little bit. Stay low. Keep doing what you're doing. I don't think we have enough people doing that right now. We don't have enough folks really getting into these kids' ears and letting them know, like,
yeah, they have like a rookie boot camp when you go to the NBA. It's like they teach you about finances.
See, there's nothing like that out here.
Yeah, there's no.
To be honest, I know there's some rumblings of people trying to spark something like that going on right now, so that way we can have some semblance of order.
Well, in that case, let me take this opportunity to plug my new startup, which is Workshop. It's coming soon, a talent incubator. That is exactly what we will be doing. But I think you're right, though. I really think it starts at the OG level, meaning the moguls.
Yeah, moguls the people that have been there and done that.
Yeah, I really think it takes the Dr. Dre's and, who've been through, the wars of Death Row, but even before Death Row, NWA and everything that he went through with NWA and Ruthless to Death Row, Puffy with Bad Boy, Biggie, Tupac, Jay-Z with, the whole thing, the Rockefellers, from the drug game to the rap game. I think you take the pillars of the community, because Netflix just recently put out this Who Killed Malcolm X documentary.
Oh yeah, we've been watching that.
Yeah, when you go back into the conspiracy and all that was going on in terms of the different leaders, they didn't work together, right? You know what I mean? Martin was over there with his agenda. Malcolm didn't agree with his agenda. You had the Panthers. Then a little later you had the Panthers. Then you had obviously Elijah Muhammad, and look what happened.
It was segmented.
And they just picked up,
And that's probably, there's a reason why they call it strength in numbers. And that's something that I think we need to start employing a lot more instead of trying to be on our own islands, trying to do our own thing. There's got to be more of a collective community, because I feel like every other genre is doing it.
Yeah.
The country community is very tight-knit.
Exactly. The country community.
EDM community is super tight-knit. Everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody. Everybody works with everybody. And tours with everybody.
And I feel like with us, there's been more of a just...
Well, they work together. In terms of like to do, everybody's on everybody's record.
Yeah.
In this and that.
I mean, when it comes to the money aspect, but not the community aspect.
Exactly.
Not the part where we need that growth and the teaching and the building. So you can have people coming in this with a little bit more sensibility and a little bit wiser.
That's where I feel like it's segmented. Diddy's doing his great things. He's got his school.
Yeah.
He does a lot of, really positive motivational speaking. We know Jay does a million things. Dre doesn't like to publicize what he does, but I know he
still does it. Yeah.
I know he does, from, putting wings on universities to countless other scholarships he's probably given and so on and so forth. But I definitely feel like this might be before your time, because I am a little older. Not much, just only about 6 months older than him. But do you remember Sam Snead? They used to be signed to Death Row.
Yeah.
Who did the skit with Snoop?
Yeah.
So Sam Snead just posted on Facebook, which I don't ever look at Facebook, but hey, shout out to Facebook.
Still around.
Still around. Still got great reach. Mark, holler at me. You know, I'm like, yay, come on, man. Come on, Zuckerberg, give me a Billy. You know what I mean? Let me get started. You know, we could do some things. But going back to what I was getting at is he posted this thing, and it was a repost from somebody else where he was saying, he was like, why don't Jay-Z, Diddy, Dre, he had the CEOs of Cash Money, sort of all the top labels, if you will, and the moguls come together and build, you know, whether it's a record label or if it's a distribution thing, something where, or it's a fund of some sort that artists would, and it's this community for artists.
That'd be great.
Yeah, you know, and that's an interesting concept.
It's a concept that I think should have happened maybe 10, 15 years ago. But at the same time, I get it. You know, everybody's on their own hustle, but it's necessary. And I think now more than ever.
I think the Grammys could help get that done.
I'm
just saying. I think you get you invite them to a Grammy dinner, like you know what I mean, and it's really a secret agenda.
Take the bill, I'm good.
Yeah,
but,
you know, yeah.
No, but I think the Grammys would be more than happy to be able to try and be an agent for change when it comes to that.
Yeah,
and whatever it would take, it's just one of those things of how do we get those minds all to combine and come together like cohesively, and not on just some, we will think about it or we'll do this. No, we really need some action behind the words.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be, I think maybe it's someone outside, someone else who comes up with the ideas or the plans, and you know, I mean, hey, maybe it's us. I don't know. Maybe
you never know.
I don't know. Maybe me and you get together after we brainstorm.
Might need to.
But I definitely think just the talking about it is how we start it.
And keep that conversation going.
Keep the conversation going. I love to hear what Swizz's platform is in terms of like really talking about artists and creators getting paid properly.
Yeah.
And that's his platform. I love, you know, I just saw Virgil Abloh just posted something about Chicago, and they didn't have a shooting on the South Side for like 23 days.
Oh, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like you just and I love to see progress. I guess you know what I mean in terms of the violence and so on and so on. We know it's here. We know it
it's not going away. Unfortunately,
we know kids are still on the block, and the more we can we build this community, the more we're actually going to take kids off the street.
Exactly.
You know?
Okay, I think that's the biggest thing. We don't feed into that ecosystem that's been so detrimental to us. But now finding another path for this so then they could be more productive in things that they probably never even knew they wanted to have a passion for. Gotcha.
Now what's next? I mean, you're still at the Grammys, but I know you got more. What else you into?
I mean, you know, look, and you know, I just want to help make music, help create, help really build up a lot of these younger artists, even the more established and legacy ones. I feel like there's more than one way to contribute to this community other than giving out an award.
Yeah.
So those are things that I've always been exploring from day one, just in terms of figuring out, okay, where do I best fit in? What kind of knowledge and what kind of tools can I start to preach and give out to a lot of these folks that I run into every day in terms of being able to kind of grow away from it and, you know, show myself as well as show the community that I'm here to stay.
Yeah. Might be a good, I'm just throwing my hat in the water. You know, I got an idea for you. 'Cause you mentioned sort of like the OG community. What about bringing some of the past Grammy winners back? Meaning not necessarily for anything specific, like maybe dinner, but meaning have these people from the 80s, 90s, whatever, you know, talk to the new artists today, like some sort of like networking.
See, that's a good idea.
You know what I mean? Like
having something like that where we can really bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Bring people and make it something where it's a regular thing. Yeah, so now you can start connecting.
And you can still brand it with the Grammys because these are past Grammy winners.
Exactly.
You know, but the whole purpose of it is building that bridge.
So I think you're onto something. I like that idea.
Hey, you know what I mean? That's what the Q&A is here for. You know? I'm here for you. My line's always open.
I know what you want for the cut.
You know, no cut necessary.
Okay.
Just an invite. Just an invite.
No, but I think that's a great idea because I mean, one of the things I thought about was not just people within music, but our people from across the landscape, actors, entertainers,
Yeah. That's actually
athletes,
wow. That's
photographers, a little bit of everything, because you never know what kind of knowledge that they have to
and
give.
the lawyers. We need the lawyers.
Oh, yeah,
there.
always.
We need the lawyers.
We always need
there,
legal eagles.
They know the fine print.
Trust.
In conclusion, I think I haven't given up on the Grammys personally.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Neither have I.
Yeah. And when I had the opportunity to have you on the show, I was excited about that, so we could just talk about all this stuff, because I think it's something. I mean, you hear people criticize the Grammys or make these comments
All
and
day.
this and that, but it's like it's more important to me to have a dialogue. I'm solutions based versus like it's one thing to just be like, that's that. You know, it's like, what we're gonna do about it?
Exactly. Anybody can complain, but who can come up with solutions?
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather be in that business.
Exactly. And so I think you are part of the solution.
I appreciate that, man. I'm just trying.
Yeah, man. Thanks for your time, man. Appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you, brother.
This was some real talk. I appreciate you.
Of course. And it ain't gonna stop here.
All right. Shout out to the Grammys. Shout out to Len Brown, straight out of Brooklyn.
Come on.